Got No Control podcast, graffiti podcast for all graffiti writers. Today, I want to give a special shout out to my sponsor, Mayfresh Shop, located in Dominguez, California, inside the Del Amo Indoor Swap Meet. Make sure to visit them for all your graffiti supplies. They also offer airbrush services and supplies. With that being said, I want to welcome my special guest today, ZENDER. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing really good, really good.
Thank you for stopping by today and, talking some graph with us today.
Good, yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's talk graph.
So let me ask you, brother, when you think about graffiti, since you've been around, how does that make you feel, that part of you, like being a graffiti writer?
Well, first of all, I don't consider myself a graffiti writer.
Okay.
I consider myself an artist first, who happened to be fortunate enough to have experienced the phenomenon of graffiti writing. I believe, I would say I was a graffiti writer when I was a kid.
Okay.
And because I believe the graffiti writer writes, and that's what you do. You do illegal. You go around, busting tags on buses, bus benches, bombing. That's a graffiti writer.
Yeah.
And then there's a graffiti artist.
Okay.
And that's the graffiti person who will now do big works of art, pieces, beautiful, amazing things. And then those are kind of go back and forth between a graffiti writer and graffiti artist.
Okay.
And then, of course, as a lot of people know, there's also street artists. That's now a new term. So I like to, first of all, just get all the terminologies clear. So I'm not a graffiti writer anymore. I was one as a kid, but I am an artist.
And for those who don't understand, can you say a little bit about the difference between a street artist and a graffiti artist?
Yes, this is, again, my opinion. I'm not speaking for everybody and just for myself.
Okay.
I've been around the Los Angeles art scene since like the 1980s.
Okay.
So I got to see the evolution of graffiti and graffiti art and street art sort of take, a very wide phenomenon worldwide.
Yeah.
And my opinion is, a lot of factors come into play. Technology, advancement of technology, the projector, the paint, and the internet. All these factors, to me, gave birth to the street artists.
Okay.
Graffiti writers, like the New York writers, had, one objection was to get street fame, put your name, scribe it, write it, ink it, ink, acid, whichever way you can put your name. That was your number one objective. And then, of course, the influence of art and creativity comes in. And now, of course, if you've seen Subway Art, the documentary, and you guys can Google that, Subway Art, and several other movies, Wild Style, you will see how the New York evolution of the art form, transcended and became, massive. Definitely. And then went from the trains to the walls, because, you could do murals, and from the walls to the galleries, and from the galleries to the personal easels that we have now. So the street artist is, to me, now a contemporary version of that genre, but they're no longer, again, to me, they're no longer writers, but they have some element of it. Like maybe some street artists who do big street art murals will catch a tag here and there, but they're not from the original writer, from a crew or whatever. But that's my opinion.
And with that being said, bro, what do you say to that guy or that person that be like, I'm a graffiti writer, screw that, I'll never be a street artist?
I'd say, great. Good luck with that. Because I'm the kind of person where I've been mentoring a lot of students. I'm a big youth advocate. I love young people. I love teenagers, my whole life. And I've been fortunate enough to be in a position where I was an art instructor, especially an urban art instructor, for many, many years. Okay. And I get all kinds of artists, graffiti writers, graffiti taggers, graffiti, even tag bangers, another term that is out there, which means there's a crew or something that began as a graffiti art crew and had to evolve into a gang. Due to the pressures of the street, of other former gangs, or because they just made the decision to become competitive in the gang genre.
Yeah,
And when they come into, into my presence or my class, whatever, I never discourage them and say, hey, you need to go move or graduate from this to that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't believe there is such a thing. I know a long time ago, I kind of, that was the norm, was to say you began as a tagger and then you evolved or grew out of that and became a graffiti artist. And then you grow out of that and become an artist. I no longer have that kind of mentality because I do have seen a lot of, so graffiti writers still exist, and I think
definitely.
that's like, hey, just be aware. And this is what I tell everybody: be aware of what's out there and what are the consequences to each one of those things, and what is the road, and what does it take to become great at that particular thing. If you're going to be a writer, which means like a tagger,
Yeah,
whatever, then be aware that you're probably going to have some beefs. You're going to run into some problems with the law. You're going to run into some problems with, property owners. You could even get shot and killed.
definitely.
And if you're willing to take those risks, by all means, as long as you're aware of it, don't let that catch you by surprise.
And thank you for sharing that because I feel like some people are not aware of what comes with it. Like, it's not all games and for fun. A lot of things could go sideways real quick.
Oh yeah, there was one time I did a memorial mural in Highland Park. It's no longer there. The wall got they restored, but it was a mural dedicated to all the graffiti writers and graffiti artists who have passed
Yeah.
away, whether due to violence, due to accidents, due to natural causes. But we did a memorial for them, and they're still, and now because of where we are now, there's a lot of artists that are legendary who are passing away because of age and cancer and things like that. So you can almost say I'm close to being 60 now,
Yeah.
and you're gonna hear one day, oh wow, I remember the old ZENDER is gone, you know what I mean? And that's something that the young generation sometimes, I believe, forget. They're not invincible. They're not superheroes. If they can climb up to a heaven, catch a
Yeah.
billboard, which is a heaven is a billboard graffiti, corporate graffiti.
Yeah.
You can do all that, which is fine, but you're still running the risk of falling and
Definitely.
dying, so be aware of that.
And be careful.
Yep.
So, with that being said, brother, let me ask you this. What would you say would be a good step for an active graffiti writer to take to become into that graffiti artist?
So again, we've seen graffiti writer, if he wants to make the decision to move into a graffiti artist, again,
Yeah.
like, to me, I feel like there are these different categories that kind of work together but yet are separate. A graffiti artist now has to look at the realities of what's out there. I mean,
Okay.
now you have where the art form has evolved immensely.
Yeah.
I know recently you mentioned somebody from Korea. I don't want to mention his name, but
Yeah.
Korean artist, and he's almost like the type of person of art that I had sort of said to you. I said, look, if you want to really truly make it in the street art world or even in the graffiti art world, you have to master a lot of technique.
Okay.
Techniques to me is the spray can is nothing more than a medium. It's like saying airbrush in your hand, or like saying oil or pastel.
Okay.
So as you manipulate the medium into a position where it's at an advanced level, now you can say now it's about scale. Now, if you have that medium, you do photorealism
Okay.
with the spray can. You've mastered the technique. Now you can go and do scale, which is a side of a building.
Big building,
Yeah,
top to bottom.
they project it. You paint it with spray can. You got all these nice juicy colors. You now have all the available resources on Instagram to market yourself.
Yeah.
You can now begin to take it to the next level and start becoming an influencer, do more travel all over the world doing this thing, what you do.
Yeah.
And then you've become famous.
A lot of people say that projecting is kind of like cheating. What do you say to that?
I say it's there's no rules in art. So
Okay.
you can't cheat something that doesn't have any rules. It's almost like
Yeah.
saying we're gonna fight in a boxing arena. Now you got rules. MMA has rules, but in a street fight,
Yeah.
no rules. So you better be careful with what
Yeah.
happens on a street fight, because they
Yeah.
can kill you. So in the same way, to me, in the art world, if you're a graffiti writer and you tag,
Yeah.
that's your hand style. Now, if you
Definitely.
said, oh, someone created a machine that can actually tag better than you pull out the machine and let the machine tag for you. Is that cheating? What about the graffiti writers that use stickers like search and multiply and print these out on a printer and go around everywhere sticking them? You're now using your technology to advance you. Are you cheating? No, we're not cheating. You're just being creative.
Yeah.
You're just using the resource you have to gain momentum, to gain time, to get yourself, a sticker is easier to apply than a tag.
Definitely.
So, and I was there in the 1980s when the stickers were great. I mean, I had a bunch of stickers that I would put on the bus.
Yeah.
Turn around, boom, stickers there. You move on with your tag on the sticker.
Like the postal ones.
Yeah, postal one. Big ones, little ones. You go to the main sticker store and buy the biggest ones you can and do stencils, like search.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're everywhere. But is that cheating? No, it's just using your resources to move you forward.
Because now you could just have them printed. You don't even got a stencil or tag or nothing. You just give them the design. Give me 1,000 stickers. Boom, let's go.
I saw recently a video where it had a machine. It looked like a printer that was actually printing out a mural on the side of a building. Literally, this is like a 3D printer. It was just printing out whatever you program. It will print the mural. And I'm thinking, if they make these available, graffiti and street art is going to go to the next level.
And it was printed with spray paint?
It had its own pigment. It came in its own pigment. It would just put it up, and it would be like a little robot. It would just go back and forth and paint your mural right on your wall, like a printer on a wall.
I'm going to have to look into that one. I haven't seen it yet.
I saw that. I was like, oh, boy, there goes my job.
Let me throw in the towel. I'm done.
I'm done. Actually, I'm trying to retire from murals anyways.
So where was young Zender, bro, when he seen the very first, whether it was a tag, a bomb, or a throw up, and attracted you to get into that lifestyle?
Well, first of all, let me say he was not Zender.
Oh.
He was Phase 52.
Phase 52.
Phase 52 was my graffiti writer name, my vandal name, which now nobody remembers except those of us that are in their 50s. I've always been I've always been an artist my whole entire life. I'm an artist. And I can honestly say I was an artist as a kid, and I was an artist who happened to stumble upon a phenomenon on its beginning stages.
Okay.
And that would be when in 1981, when my father was murdered in South Central Los Angeles.
Okay.
I was living in South Central as a gang member. I moved from there to a city that I thought was the weirdest city of all, from South Central Los Angeles to a city called Maywood.
Okay.
Maywood. I thought I was in the middle of the boonies. Obviously, it's a suburb of Los Angeles, not even that far, actually. But for me, coming from South Central, I'm thinking, what can possibly be happening in Maywood? So I tried to bring my gang mentality to that location.
Okay.
And educate kids about what a cholo was and what a vato loco was.
Hey, homie.
And hey, homie, this is how you do it. And little by little, as I sort of met other kids and they were telling me, "No, homie, you need to learn how to break dance." And I'm like, what? And this is, 1982.
Yeah.
When the Gap Band was playing on the radio and Kool and the Gang. And they had all these, some of the other graffiti writers they had, music. MTV was just starting.
Okay.
So we were getting a little bit of the visuals of what, breakdancing and early hip hop was. But what I thought was interesting was that hip hop kind of had a little bit of the street element that kind of fused a little bit of everything. They fused in the sort of the homeboy a little bit. They fused the New York. They fused. I wouldn't say that, the concept of all the elements of hip hop kind of come in, and I don't know who coined that. I mean, a lot of people could tell you, oh, this person coined that or that person coined the concept of all the elements. I just know that when that was happening and the concept of hip hop was going on in the early 80s for me, it did have that appeal that you had to sort of, if you wanted to be a true B-boy, you had to break dance.
Okay.
If you wanted to be a true B-boy, you had to, rap. You wanted to be a true b-boy, you had to do graffiti, and that's the part that I said, what?
Graffiti.
What do you mean? What do you mean graffiti? And they say, oh, you paint with a spray can. And I remember in Maywood when I was, I would see a little bit of it, hints of it in Maywood.
Yeah.
And there used to be a riverbed.
Okay.
And people like Bass and a bunch of other guys from NTS were kids at the time there.
Yeah.
And they're always like, Zender, I remember when you were faced with the two in the riverbeds of Maywood. And that was my canvas. That was it began with a concept like a concept called the Rats. We called the Rats.
Okay.
Bunch of kids hanging out together. And everybody had a surname Rat. Like there was Bud Rat, Sig Rat.
Oh, okay.
Sig Rat, because he smoked a lot of cigarettes. I was Bomb Rat. Because I bombed.
Yeah.
And then there was this rat and that. And we would write rats. And it was kind of like a little club. But I started, playing with the letters of the word rats in the riverbed. And then before you know it, that turned into a social club called PYM.
Okay.
Park Yard Mob, Social Club.
But
Okay?
is it fair to say that in Los Angeles, there was already like their own type of style developing aside of the New York style?
That, from my opinion, comes into play where you compare it with New York. I mean, there's got to be a comparison to me. Los Angeles, to me, has its, a lot of people probably say the same thing. Oh, well, when you talk graffiti in general,
Yeah.
you're talking about many types of graffiti. Like, you're talking like hobo graffiti.
Okay.
You're talking about Chicano gang graffiti, African American graffiti, stoner graffiti,
Okay.
and I love Lucy, Lucy loves me, and graffiti in general.
Yeah.
But realistically, it wasn't until New York perfected their train graffiti,
Okay.
and those groups of people coming to LA, and the graffiti writers from New York doing music videos and exposing it in the medium like television and magazine, that whoever was doing whatever kind of graffiti you were doing already in LA, which was, like you say, either it was placas, stoner graffiti, I Love Lucy graffiti, whatever kind of graffiti, you would now see that and look at the colors of it or the lettering style and go, whoa, wait a minute. This now gives me a different outlook in where I want to go with it.
Okay.
And the same thing you could say about rap. Rap music is very comparable, because if you say the Chicano rap grow out of LA, well, it couldn't, because it had to start with Curtis Blow.
Yeah.
Or else there wouldn't be rap.
Clap your hands.
Yeah, clap your hands, everybody just, But without a foundation, you can't have anything to build on. So from my opinion, I believe that the New York graffiti did set the foundation for that type of graffiti, for the graffiti art that we know as, wild style and b-boy and music video and so. But now, years, you got calligraphy,
Yeah.
which with like Retina and Deffer and some of these artists do, and Chaz.
Calligraphy, to me, it's just cholo writing.
It kind of is, but you got to remember calligraphy goes way back in hieroglyphics and a bunch of and then fonts, and the Germans with their fonts and their texts, and the printer, and when they would put all the font. So calligraphy, in general, you can't just say, oh, we're gonna just put it in one box.
Okay.
It's so complicated, and I think that's the problem with, my opinion, with most books you read or most interviews you see, is they always want to simplify everything very neatly, and sometimes you can't, because if you then say, if I'm going to include this, then I have to include that, and it's like saying, where did the origins of this beat come from in music? Oh, well, it started in Africa with this drum beat. No. It started way back. And you go off and on, over, arguing over who came out with the, no. It was James Brown with the break, the fucking,
Yeah.
So it's all depending on people's perspective, people's opinion, and how that influenced them in general.
How they want to see
How you want to interpret it, because it's like anything else. We are all individuals that can interpret things our own way. We have what's called a paradigm. A paradigm is your perspective. I've heard a lot of the podcasts that you had here, and I go, wow, interesting perspective.
Yeah.
You know, and does it speak for everybody? I probably say it doesn't. Like, my opinion can only be from my perspective. From
Definitely.
Maywood to the Radiotron, from the Radiotron to the streets, from the streets to wherever, and to wherever I'm at now.
And you started off at Maywood, brother. How important was it for you to develop your own style into this graffiti world?
It was really important because, like I said, once you see somebody else's graffiti,
Yeah.
you then say to yourself, do I want to be better than him, or do I want to just stay where I'm at? And the first graffiti piece that I've saw was somebody in the freeway on the 710
Yeah.
named Papa Bear.
Papa Bear.
Papa Bear. I have no idea who Papa Bear was. Never met him, but he had a mural on the freeway that said Erotic City. And probably the people from NTS, the guys that were there, and they were kids, they probably remember, oh, Zender, remember Papa? And I remember seeing that, and my jaw dropped. And I said, dang. The second mural I saw that was in that style was Duke.
Okay.
Duke had a piece in East Los Angeles that said, catch me if you can. Kind of like the movie, Catch Me. And it was so cleanly done that I was like, oh my. Because I was doing really simple bubble letter with, a circle inside of a circle inside of a circle.
Yeah.
But once I saw those two pieces, I said, I need to up my game. And this is where Radiotron will come in.
Okay.
Because now, as a break dancer,
Yeah.
Radiotron was the hub for dancing.
Okay.
So when the first time I went to Radiotron, I went as a dancer. And this is before, I had met Carmelo or anything like that.
And you took the guys from Maywood with you?
Yeah, well, the guys from Maywood took me.
Oh, did I?
They
You
were
gotta check this
they were breakers there, and they go, yo, you gotta go to the Radiotron. I'm like, what's Radiotron? Then when we went, I was like, oh, but I got more excited about the stimuli of the visuals,
Okay.
the art,
Yeah.
And I said, oh my, what's this? And then it so happened that I graduated from high school in 1984.
Okay.
And I was supposed to go to the Marine Corps, and I got a medical that I didn't end up. I did ROTC with the Marines for a year,
Yeah.
and I got the medical out the Marine Corps, and I said, now what do I do? So I ended up finding out that I had a full scholarship for Otis Art Institute.
Okay.
And Otis Art Institute of Parsons School of Design was actually right in front of MacArthur Park
Oh, wow.
in Mid-City in Los Angeles. So I go there in my first year in 1985, and lo and behold, what's across the street? Radiotron. And I said, oh my God, is this destiny or what? So on one of my days off when I don't have class, I just walk to the Radiotron, knock on the door, and Carmelo comes out. Hey, how's it going? So that began the journey of Phase 52. That began the how does Phase 52 become Zender? And that's where he becomes Zender, because after meeting many amazing street art or graffiti writers. I wouldn't say street art.
Can you share some names of who you met there?
Oh man, there were so many. I met, Relic. I met Skept. I met Prime, Crime, Dante, Geo. Man, so many. A lot of and then that leads you to the rest of the West Coast, and you meet, Sketch and what's his name? That my brother Jack. Oh my God.
Okay. And
to me, just knowing that all these personalities, are there painting, Ozrock and then Mr. Animation.
Yeah.
So everybody is just one big ball of energy, so everybody influences everybody else.
Was everybody kind of like, hey, man, you need something, let me know. I'll help you get your game up? Or was it you're on your own?
I don't think it's like that, because that would be almost like, oh, you have to sort of pretend that you know what you're doing. You have to sort of like get there like, yeah, I know what you're doing, but you're really looking. Yeah, I know how to use these markers. Yeah, I know how to do those kind of letters.
Yeah, I got it.
And that's where, when you're in a collaborative, everybody influences everybody.
Okay.
And you'll see, and even now, you'll see that influence in who hung out together. It's the same thing in an art movement. Like if the abstract expressionists hung out together, you're going to see some similarities. If the expressionists or the impressionists hang out together, you're going to see some. That's why the cubists are called cubists, because they all have something in common. They all believe that the evolution of a letter was important.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most important things for a graffiti writer and a graffiti artist at the time, was the evolution of the letter, your composition in your black book, and how well you can execute it on a wall.
Yeah.
Now, if you had poor lettering skills at that time and you couldn't hold your own, you were slowly faded out because you couldn't keep up with the rest of them.
So it's not like today. Like I know there's some guys out there that they're not that crazy in style, but they get up massively. So it wouldn't that wouldn't be the same as back then. Back then
No.
you had to have style.
Right. It's like if you watch Wild Style, it's like Cap. Remember Cap?
Yeah.
He says, it's not quality, it's quantity.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like that. I think that's where the concept of the philosophy of a graffiti writer and the graffiti artist can overlap. Because when you're a graffiti writer, it's quantity.
Yeah.
It's how much can you do it. And for a graffiti artist, it's quality. And every now and then it crosses over.
Okay.
So quality is important to an artist because you want to make sure that when you do a production and your name is on it,
Yeah.
it's gonna it's gonna reflect you as the artist, not you as the tagger. So you want to make sure that your letters are clean, your letters flow, your symmetry is correct. Everything flows perfect. And if it doesn't, what's wrong with the letter? Why doesn't it lean to the left?
And
Why is it off balance? And then you perfect it. And that's where the concept of the more you do it, the better you get. And the concept that is missing even today is the concept of being prolific and the concept of being stylistic.
Okay.
Which in those days, to us artists, graffiti artists, it was how many different ways can you do your name?
And that's what I was gonna get to. You shared that with me, and it was something that I thought about. Like,
Which is far different from today, where now branding is important.
yeah,
You doing the same name and the same style over and over is what's going to get you marketable. Because
Yeah.
if you do your name in a million different styles, no one's going to know it's you. But yet they will know it's you because you're writing your same name.
yeah,
Like Bates,
Uh-huh.
one of my favorite artists, Bates. If you go through a book of Bates, and he has a lot of books, Bates. It's like Bates in this color, Bates in that color, Bates with this letter, Bates in a circle, Bates with a square, Bates, and you're going, dang, dang, damn, dang. While
Yeah.
nowadays I go through graffiti books and I just pass the page. Yeah. Oh, another one. Okay. I've seen it all.
yeah,
And when you've seen it all, for graffiti art to move me, something's gotta grab me. And if it doesn't grab me anymore,
yeah,
I've seen it. And so I kind of pass through it. And I think that's where, for me, and that's why I say I'm no longer a graffiti writer or a graffiti artist. I'm an artist because I sort of love, I'm still in love with the nostalgia of graffiti.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why if I run into graffiti writers or graffiti artists who still have that nostalgia, I get excited when they get excited about how it used to be. Remember when, and you're like, yeah, I remember when it was the first time I saw the colors
Yeah.
or the first time I saw that train. And then you start going, this is it. This is it. Like in the movie, Wild Style.
Yeah.
That's the nostalgia of what it feels like. But if you've done it, for 15, 20 years, you go, well, something's got to, that's why I get invited a lot to do, hey, Zender, we have a big paint out. We're going to paint. Like, you want
Yeah.
to come paint? I'm like, no, I'm good. Now, if they say, you want to come paint, Lee's going to be there. For sure is going to be there. What? The nostalgia again.
Yeah.
I want to be there.
So being at Raditotron, bro, what was the cause to get you to change your name? So you came in as
Phase 52.
and then you changed your name.
Zender.
What was the reason for that?
I got busted.
Oh, okay.
I got caught. I was a prolific tagger in the buses mostly. And
Yeah.
one time I did the unthinkable. I know for those of you guys that remember those days, I was in Bell High School
Okay.
and I wanted to get instant fame. So I went with a big fat uni marker. Uni markers are these big fat markers that are probably about 4 inches wide, very thin, 4 inches wide. Popped it out, went into the principal's office of the school. He had a beautiful wall. And I tagged phase, and I was gonna write 52 because that was where I live. Phase 50. When I got to the 2, he grabbed my arm and spun me around.
Oh.
And literally my heart dropped because I'm still, markers are dripping. His wall is dripping.
Yeah.
His furniture's carpet's dripping with black ink.
Oh.
And he sat me down. He says, you got a choice. Either you clean my entire school spick and span, or I call the police department. I said, give me the mop. And surely enough, I cleaned the entire school for the entire day. And my brain said, man, this is a hard consequence because I could go to jail for this. I want to still keep the integrity of being a graffiti, something.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. So I said, I got to reinvent myself. And I said, well, why don't I just merge the graffiti writer that I am with the artist that I am, and merge it and make myself a graffiti artist. So that's where me and my partner Dread, we were from a crew called BAD.
Okay.
Bad. We decided to let's change our names. And he was Kino, and there was a lot of Kinos.
Yeah.
So he changed his name to Dread. I changed my name from Face to Zender, and we became like a 2-man crew. And we began doing nothing but murals. I was like, we're going to do nothing but productions. Full color. We're going to knock out these amazing. That's when I went to, the Balmont Tunnel. I got to hang out with, with Rick. Had to hang out with a lot of personalities that we painted together.
And is Zender a name that just came out of the top of the head, or is there something that gravitated you to that name?
At the time when I was coming up with my name, it was a combination of like Zion, which means, the mountain of the Bible, with, grandeur, So I try to merge those into Zender. Plus, I was a big fan of Zephyr from New York, and I loved Disease. And so I, gravitated to that. So to me, the word Zender means the rising mountain.
Okay.
And that's how I always wanted to project myself as an artist. I'm the rising mountain.
Gotcha.
I'm someone that if you say you can't, I will show you I will.
Gotcha. I know you mentioned the busing. Can you share a little bit about that?
The what?
The busing?
Like, because there's 2 types of busings. You mean when they bus you from one school to the other?
No, bus.
Or like the RTD bus?
The RTD
okay,
bus.
because I did get bused from one school to another, and it was called the busing system.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's another story. Buses were a very easy way to get your tag noticed by many, many other teenagers at the time.
Okay.
Because like the New York has a transit system. We didn't really tag the outside. A lot of people did, but I didn't. But you travel on the bus at all times as a teenager.
Yeah.
And in the 80s, not that many people had cars, So buses for me, I was more of a bus stop bomber.
Okay.
They now I don't even think they have them. They used to have these, beautiful bus stops where it had a big wide back.
Yeah.
And they would put advertisements on there. But
wood one.
The wood one. And many times those advertisements would run out. They would just paint them yellow, or they would be green.
Okay.
So I would always have markers, unis. And I would always bomb the bus stops with, Phase 52. Always Phase 52. Very rarely do I do a Zender tag. And I tell you, I realized early on that if you did amazing productions, that would take you farther, for me at least. It would take you farther than a tag.
Okay.
If someone saw a beautiful Zender full color piece or a big mural in full color, and then I put done by Zender, would give me a lot more credibility than if I saw my tag Zender like a mosquito bite all over the city,
Gotcha. But it was impossible to like bomb the actual bus, like sit there and throw up like a 2-3 color bomb, was it?
No.
It was just more like a
That was a
throw
tag, yeah. The only time you got to even get near painting a bus like full color was if the bus company commissioned you to do, which was rare. No, that was that would have been something else. I think if that would have been, if they had like New York where they had a yard where they you could jump the fence and paint an RTD bus, and that bus would, oh man, that would have been a game changer in LA, wouldn't it?
You think if someone would have done it, they would have been like talked about like, damn, that guy did a whole bomb?
I mean, I know there were people that tagged on the outside, but not in full color. Maybe somebody did out there. I can't see. From my opinion, I never got to see it. I saw tags on windows and scribes and a lot of stuff, but I never even, there weren't even stickers that big or wheat paste that big that would catch the bus system. That would have been a good sight to see.
I also know, bro, that a lot of guys say that they were mentored by somebody. Did you have a mentor?
In graffiti art in LA, when I first started off, most of my mentors were the New York writers, obviously.
Oh, so you met New York writers here in LA?
I didn't meet them. I saw them. You know, like
Okay,
you would
okay.
see them on television, and then you would research them. You know, what I mean, like I know, like Dondi was the one that did Buffalo Gals,
Okay.
and then I saw, especially when I was at Otis,
Mhm.
at Otis Art Institute, you have access to a lot of art magazines.
Okay.
And during that time, Art Forum and Art in America was doing a heavily amount of writing on New York. There was the Fun Gallery in New York, and they were doing a lot of articles on the New York writers. And when I was at Otis, I would constantly, look through the magazines just to see if I ran into, and sure enough, almost one out of every magazine that would have an article on Zephyr or an article on Futura or an art,
Okay.
and I would just look at Zephyr's mural or whoever or Futura's and go, dang, you know what I mean?
Gotta get
And
like
then
that.
and then realistically, the other, I'm not gonna say he was a mentor, but he was definitely an influence, was Soon and Legit.
Okay.
And those were the guys that did the front of the first version of the front of the Radiotron.
Okay.
And then after that came Crime and Prime, who did the front of the, and myself, who did the character in front of the Radiotron.
What did they do in the front?
Who?
Legit and so.
Legit, they did the word Radiotron.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I remember that what struck me the most about Soon and Legit was, not just the colors, because a lot of similarities was there, the colors, the outline, the 3D, but was to me the you would say the factor that makes it or breaks it is the cleanness of the line.
Okay.
And to me, I was like, wow, these people are not as loose and wild and sloppy as I am. They're very,
And these are New York writers.
the New York guys. So
Okay.
they have a lot of experience with trains. So once I saw that, then I said, oh man, that means we have to begin to start taking to the next level, really clean, practice that straight line and practice that outline without a drip and blow on it when that little thing starts, or else you're going to be called a little drip. Oh, you're bad. You're not that good. Your quality's suffering.
And a lot of people that are gonna listen to this don't understand that back then it was just a cry line like this one right here
Right,
with just a stock tip,
right,
and you had to get it in and make sure nothing would drip and
right. And then obviously everybody knows about the tester tips that came
Yeah.
up from, but that helped. I mean, it helped. But at the end of the day, no matter what can you use, no matter what tip you use, practice
Yeah.
is going to be the defining factor. If you do not practice, if you do not learn your craft, pay attention to what you want to do with your craft, you're not going to move as quickly as you should in that craft of street
Yeah.
art or in graffiti, an artist.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You mentioned seeing Soon and Legit, right?
Scene?
I mean Soon, sorry.
Soon. Okay.
Soon and
Scene,
Legit.
yeah. I know scene too. Yeah.
My bad. Soon and Legit.
Yeah.
How was it bumping into them? Were they here in Los Angeles, like kind of like showing respect, or were they more like, oh, we're the ones, we're from New York,
I'm gonna be honest, I never ran into them.
Oh no,
No.
you just seen their work.
I just seen their work.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why I didn't run into it, because remember, I'm in art school.
Yeah.
And when you're in art school, I got homework.
Mhm.
I got things to do. I got projects to do. I'm not out there just trying to, but I would hear about that they painted at this Pan Pacific, or they painted in that yard. Then I would go
Yeah.
and look at all their work and go, damn. And I would hear, hey, did you see did you hear about this piece that this person did or that person did? And I'll go, whoa. The only place that I really went and got to paint by myself was Belmont.
Oh, okay.
That's where I would go in my backpack and do a mural, do my piece. And of course, it wouldn't last longer than probably like 3 or 4 days. And there were no cameras. So you go back with the camera and it's gone.
Oh wow.
It was that quick that
Do
if
you guys
didn't-
had like what the disposable ones? Like,
yeah, that you take a picture. Yeah. And that concept of documenting your work. And this is where I feel that I wish it could have been better documented, because
Yeah.
there were a lot of murals that were really well, like the when I told you Papa Bear, Erotic City. Does anybody got pictures out there? Let me see. There was one like I'm never gonna forget. I did a by myself. I felt like that was my. I had my backpack and I'm excited because I went to the Belmont Tunnel, and I did a mural of the Statue of Liberty
Yeah.
with a skeleton in his face, and it was about censorship
Ooh.
and blood. And it was I thought it was so dope, and I didn't have a camera.
Dang.
And I didn't take a picture, and I went back a couple of days later and it was gone. And I said, oh. And I think that there was that's why now with the internet and now with social media and a bunch of other stuff, a graffiti artist can get very famous quickly, way faster than.
You could get seen all over the world in
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah. Now, man, I'm thinking to myself, if I was a graffiti artist, now would be the best time to do it. You know, you know, you got all the books, you got all the paint, you got all the tips, you can even publish your own book, you can publish your own have your own podcast. Why, and I think that's probably a big lure or a big draw to the current street artist kid.
Yeah.
Is that he has these new resources available that we didn't have. But then again, we did it for a different reason. At least when I say we, I said me, the writer back then. I didn't do it to get famous. I mean, like, I think Shandu might have brought this out, that the concept of being unknown was really important back then,
Now it's like everybody wants to be famous.
Yeah, I remember I had a graffiti jacket one time that said "Bad to the Bone."
Yeah.
And it was graffiti jacket, and I was a little kid. I think I might have been still in art school. I was that old. I must have been like 19. And I was at Belmont checking out some pieces, and some guy goes, "Hey man, you're Zender." And I remember like it shocking me, like, what? Oh, my cover's been blown. Abort. I felt like I'm no longer Batman.
Abort mission.
I'm like going right up to Bruce Wayne, saying, "You're Batman."
Yeah.
I was like, "No, I'm not." And I didn't know. I remember I didn't know how to react. Like, how do you know? I see you, man. I feel it. Like, oh. Now it's like, oh my god,
And now it's normal.
Yeah, now it's like you walk if they know who you are. That's one of the reasons I think I'm in a way, I'm not famous for being a graffiti artist. I mean, kind of am of my work, but I'm me as a person.
Yeah.
I'm not, because I can walk into a graffiti room where all the celebrity graffiti writers are, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of people get bum rushed. You go to a big event, hey, sign my book, sign my book, sign my book, and you'll be there signing books forever. Yeah.
I know you mentioned going into yards, like you said, Pan Pacific, the Belmont Tunnel.
Yes.
How important was it to paint these yards? Like, because I know now it's like get it where you fit in, hit the freeways, hit the heavens, hit whatever you can to get yourself out there. Back then, was it the same scenario, or is it more like we're painting yards?
I think that the concept of painting yards at the time was probably I guess you would say, it was like a great accident, because it wasn't intentional. It was not like people were saying, hey, we're going to turn this into a graffiti yard.
Yeah.
It just so happens that there were a lot of abandoned yards, like lots.
Okay.
With walls around them. And when you have a lot with walls around them, and there's not that many people caring about it, will really quickly turn into yards. Where if they were submerged, even better. I remember there was one yard in Sunset and in Silver Lake that was submerged.
Okay.
Wow, that was perfect, because you go down there and cars were passing by. You could be you get your therapeutic right there,
Yeah.
And then there were other yards like way out on Soto Yard, the Soto Yard.
Okay.
Where that big tower that says Soto, there were train tracks, and oh my god, that yard went out for miles. And they're the only people that would yell at you would be the guys on the train going, get out of here. But he's on that train, so you're like, eh. So, but they were instrumental.
You said it was called the Soto Yard.
I think so.
Okay.
Because they all have motor yard, this yard. I can't remember all the yards. I know I had my own yard, the Zender yard.
Oh, really?
It was on Slauson and Hooper.
Okay.
And that was an accidental yard, and it all got burned down. So the Zender yard lasted maybe about a good 10 years. but yeah, those concept of a yard was instrumental for the development of graffiti.
Okay.
Because without those kind of yards, you're not going to have the ability for anybody to perfect the craft, to master the craft, because no one else was allowing you to do it in any other location. If you did it in an alley, you get arrested.
Or mess with the gangs.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't until later on that the graffiti, artists caught on that they can paint a sign and do graffiti.
Okay.
Hey, man, Mr. Tire Shop, can I write Joe's Tires? Sure. How much? No, I'll do it for free, or just give me $20 for paint. Then I'll do another production going all the way down the end of the block. And that caught on. That's like in the 90s.
Okay. Does it bug you at all, bro? Like being somewhere or you getting invited to places and being around the new generation graffiti writers and kind of looking at you like, you don't know what you're talking about, man. Does that bug you?
No,
No?
no, because I taught graffiti art to a
Yeah.
bunch of kids. I got that all the time.
Yeah.
I got one kid that wanted to battle me, and he was like 12. And I looked at him like, "You want to battle me in graffiti?" Yeah,
He called you out?
yeah, and I was
Oh,
like,
shit.
"Gee," but I caught, I was like, "Okay, but we're gonna do it for $100."
Okay.
What? And we're gonna do it only in 3 colors. What?
And what do
And
you
then
say?
everybody looked at the kid and they'd slap him. You don't know who this guy is? He's gonna take you out to lunch in 2 seconds. Because a lot of people don't know who you are. They think you're just a teacher, or you're just you're the substitute teacher trying to teach me graffiti. What's wrong with you?
What do you know?
I know. What do you know? And at the time, there was not that many people teaching graffiti. I mean, now I'm pretty sure it's probably in a curriculum in a college somewhere, you know. But back then, when they brought me in, I actually have if you go to on Google my name, I have LA Times did this thing on one of my graffiti classes.
Okay.
And guess what happened after the LA Times did a beautiful little short on my graffiti class?
They shut it down.
They shut it down because it was gaining too much popularity. And a lot of organizations, nonprofits, the minute something works and you're deterring and it gets exposure, they'll pull the plug.
Unless they're getting money out of it.
Unless there's some kind of big grant. But no, they pulled the plug on it because the LA Times did a beautiful article on it.
Shout out them for that. Do you think, well, I mean, you were a graffiti teacher.
Hmm.
Do you think graffiti is something that could be taught, like for somebody like yourself, that you come from getting it from the ground zero up? Is that something you could teach to a child?
Well, if you're going to use the term graffiti, that cannot be taught. Graffiti is graffiti. That's the illegal application of a substance on a wall that's private or public. That cannot be taught. That just happens. But the skill of the term graffiti art can be taught, because that is a subject that already has gone through so much evolution in time that you can teach. It's like teaching history of something, or it's like teaching the application of a medium or modernism or abstract or cubism. It's now an art form. The art component of it, the vandal component of it, you can teach hand style and how to, but it's something that either a kid's going to do or not going to do. You can't, and that's where the word graffiti is always it's like a taboo word. Anytime I did a class or a workshop, I couldn't call it graffiti. I couldn't use the word graffiti. Because again, the actual word graffiti is the application of a substance illegally put on a marking or a scribe. It comes from graffitos. So you can only call it urban art. That was the term, urban art. Oh, we're teaching an urban art program. Now, here's the question that I've always asked myself. After I taught a class or after I taught a workshop, did that kid go out and bomb or mob or peace?
Who knows?
I don't know. I hope not. But if he did, good luck. As long as you know the consequences to that, But I actually still get former students that's come up to me. Hey, I was in your graffiti class in Highland Park. Oh, you were? Yeah. Oh, I was in your graffiti class in Wilmington. Oh, I was in your graffiti class in El Monte, because I taught all over the place. And I go, well, how did it go? That actually deterred me. How? Well, because when I found out how hard it was and how competitive it was, that's too much work. And I go, well, then you weren't meant to be a graffiti artist, were you? I think that's the beauty of it, that when you teach them, it's like people who want to be boxers. I think I'm going to become a Golden Glove. Put them in the ring, get them hit a couple of times. You'll know whether he wants to continue to box or not. And a lot of them will say, that's it, man. It was a good experience, but I'm good. Because my daughter was like that. I have a daughter who's real estate. And when she was little, she said, Dad, I want to. And I know you always talk about, what if your kids. My daughter wanted to be a graffiti writer.
Oh, she told you, I want to paint.
She was, I want to paint. She had a black book and everything at 12. And I'm looking at her like, and she's hiding it from me. And I look and I go, what you got there? Nothing. And finally I go, give me that. And I go, letters were all right. Not bad. And I go, and I'm like, so you want to be a graffiti writer, huh? She's like, how come you didn't show me this before? Well, come on, you're ZENDER. And I go, I would have supported you. Come on, I can support you. I go, yeah. So I said, all right, but let me give you the reality of it. Like I said, If somebody wants to do it, I don't care as long as you know what it takes to be it. And I said, let's go paint. She goes, really? I go, let's go paint. So we packed up a box full of paint, went to one of my legal yards,
Yeah.
it was legal yards. And we started doing a painting, and she's, my finger hurting. No, graffiti writers don't quit until the production's done. I'm hungry. We don't eat until the mural gets done. It's getting dark. We don't go to sleep until the mural gets done. And she's like, I don't want to be a graffiti writer no more. Good, let's pack it up and go.
But I feel like for a girl, it's a little bit more rough because you got the guys trying to be with the girl just because she paints or take advantage of her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's, like I said, in every field, you can say the same thing about MMA. You can say the same thing about the Marine Corps. You can say the same thing about the Navy. If the person wants it bad enough,
Yeah.
she's gonna learn how to navigate through that and come out winning on the other side. But yes, there's a lot of risk for female writers. The same way there's a lot of risk for, I don't know, tiny, skinny guy that can't protect himself.
But that's dope though that you were there to support her and what she wanted to do.
And it's the ironic thing. I have a son who's an artist, and I want him to learn graffiti, and he hates it. I'm like, why? Not because he's a boy, obviously, but because he's an artist.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to teach him not because I want him to be a graffiti artist. I just want him to learn the medium because it's so quick.
Yeah.
He does a mural, and when he does my son, when he does a mural, he does his acrylic. He's like, oh, I'm going to do that's taking you forever. You know, a spray can, you can take you 2 seconds.
Put a fat cap on and
Put
let's
a
go.
fat cap and you fill it in. It's a medium. It's, the tool, it's just a piece of paint. It's paint in a can.
Definitely.
But to a lot of people, that's a weapon.
What would you say to that kid that might listen to this or is already out there painting that just started? What would you tell that kid?
Well, if he really, really wants to master it, I would really say, you have internet. Go on the internet and research the best graffiti in the world, worldwide, and you're gonna see, some amazing stuff. Mexico, they're doing some amazing in Brazil, in Japan, in Tokyo. They're doing some amazing stuff. And then I would say, perfect your skills at home or wherever, and then ask yourself, if any of these guys ever called you out in a battle, can you handle it? And I'm talking about the art form of it.
Yeah.
Of course. If they want to be a graffiti writer, then I would say, okay, go do the same thing. Research all these New York writers. Look at their letters. Can your letters be just as good as that? Can your, and if they say, yeah, then I say, well, by all means do it. Now, whether or not you want to do it legally or illegal it, fine. Just remember there's consequences to both. One will probably get you notoriety, paid, money. The other one will get you into some serious trouble, maybe shot, maybe. But you're live. I'm not the kind of person that'll tell someone who wants to be a skydiver, hey, don't do a skydiver because your chances of dying are...
You might die today.
You might die. Because if that's his passion, as long as he knows the consequence, your parachute don't open, bro, you're in trouble. You know that. Yeah, okay, then jump.
Yeah.
And that's because they want to experience it. It's to me the same thing as it's like when I meet a lot of young gang members.
Yeah.
And they're, little, 14-year-olds that want a gang, man. I always tell them, hey, man, I'm going to tell you the truth. This doesn't go nowhere. You already know that. Yeah. You drank the Kool-Aid, all right? And because now you drank the Kool-Aid, you believe this. Yeah. But I give you my opinion. There's better ways, but you're going to end up having to find out for yourself. You know what I mean? Because I used to also be a gang intervention worker.
Okay.
I'm certified by Cal State LA as a gang and intervention worker. That's why I work so much with taggers.
Yeah.
That's why I work so much with teenagers. And I learned right away working with gang members that if they don't want to change, they're not going to change.
And that's true.
They're not going to change. If they want to be ME or whatever, that's like their goal.
It's similar to a drug addict. You can tell them, hey, bro, stop doing this. It's going to take your life. But they're not
I work with the ones that say, can you help me? Can you show me a way out?
Yeah.
Can you show me what's better? Now I can help you. But don't, if you don't want change, I got nothing for you, homie.
And that's one of my goals. My goal is to one day be able to help those individuals, put them in the right position, even if they paint or even if they want to learn how to paint. Give them that opportunity. Somewhere down the road, it'll happen.
Right. And I guess from my role or my experience as a graffiti writer and a graffiti artist, that's one of the things I always make myself available to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm not a celebrity writer. There are a lot of those out there now.
Yeah,
that'll
definitely.
charge you $50 to sign their black book. That's not me. I'm not out there for the fame and fortune of the celebrityism. I'm not even doing the podcast to come out on TV. I'm the kind of person where if someone says, "Hey, Zender, I like the way you paint. Can you sign my book?" No. What? No. Why? Because I want you to come paint with me.
Yeah.
Come on, or come to my studio. What? That's better because we get to experience. I can, we can, because I want to make myself available to you, and I think that's one of the reasons why I never dropped the spray can.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not a graffiti artist or a graffiti writer anymore, I'm an artist. I still use it as a medium, And every now and then, when someone says, "Zender, you want to come paint in the yard?" No, I'm good. Kind of, Zender, you want to come paint? No. Hey, Zender, you want to come in the yard? No. There'll be 30 kids. All right. Why? Because there's 30 kids gonna be there. I get to talk to the kids, and hey, have hey, you right? Yeah, have you know how to do this? This is called flare. This is called fat cap. This is called blend. You blend it like this. Turn the can upside down. Turn the other one, and that's how you. Oh, there you go. And then you come back and do the line. Confidence, straight across. Confidence. There you go.
Yeah, you got it.
That's a clean line. That's the only reason. That's the only way you can get me out to paint in the yard.
And I thank you for that, brother, because I know how it feels to be that kid and reaching out to someone that you look up to and them just shutting you down that quick. And it's just like, damn. Make sure you go to that.
No offense, but I know a bunch of writers that hi, my name. Where'd you go?
It really kills your momentum, bro. Like you're out there putting in work, trying to get better, and you finally get that one moment where like, hey, man, my name is so-and-so. And they're just like, I don't give a fuck.
Right. Well, that's the way. Like I said, a lot of people, everybody that knows who I am knows that I also do brush murals, a Chicano muralist, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other flip side to graffiti is that I'm a muralist too. And when I did murals, I brought into my mural world the same thing I found out in the graffiti world is that once you do a production, it no longer becomes yours. It belongs to the street.
Yeah.
And if it has a lifespan, it could be a lifespan of a day because they'll buff you out or another graffiti writer will come on top of you, or it could be a lifespan of a year or 10 years. I've been fortunate enough to see murals that I've done in LA. They're still theirs from 1993.
Oh, you still got one rocking?
Yeah. All over the place, a bunch of them.
Oh, wow.
And I think the only reason why they're still there is because they were done in a fusion of a little bit of everything, a little bit of the graffiti art, a little bit of the Chicano art, a little bit of the muralist, a little bit of the artist, a little bit of the community activist. And all those things put together give you something bigger than just your name on a wall.
Yeah, and I could kind of relate, bro, because I remember painting my first painting that wasn't illegal graffiti, and it was actually a wall.
Yeah.
And just the satisfaction of it, like, damn, bro, like I actually did it.
Oh.
It gives you some type of like passion in you, to like keep going, because it's crazy, bro.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The last time I've done an illegal graffiti piece was 1995.
Oh, it's been some time.
I was doing a mural, like a brush mural.
Yeah.
On Florence, and it was a brush mural with a bunch of kids. And I don't know, this bug came over me, that graffiti bug. I turned around, I saw a clean, pristine wall. And I happened to have a bunch of silvers in my crate. And I remember I told these, I was working with kids, I said, hey, man, I'm going to take a lunch break real quick. I literally crossed the street on Florence and just illegally did a huge Zender in graffiti and silver.
Broad daylight?
Broad daylight. Because I was doing a mural across the street. I figured they're going to think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at it and thinking to myself, what does it really mean? Just my name there. What is it? And I go, boring.
Yeah.
And I went back to the mural. We're working with kids. I go, yeah, let's keep this one going.
Yeah.
And that was the last time I did an illegal graffiti.
Okay. That has been some time.
Yeah.
Now that we talk about a little bit more about that, brother, how do you think beef should be addressed? Like when a graffiti writer catches beef, how would you suggest it gets addressed?
Now, I know you mean beef. You mean an argument, a disagreement, a fight. Oh, man, that's a good one because I've gone through many of those. Because in the world of street art, in the world of graffiti art, and all those, even in the world of fine art, personalities are always at play, and people's perspective and views about what is politically correct or what is fair happens all the time. For example, the graffiti writer mentality will say, if you have a wall that you've been painting over and over, some graffiti writers will really literally go up to you and say, hey man, you've had that wall for too long. It's time for somebody else to take over. I'm going to go over you.
Oh, wow.
And you're going to look at it and say, oh, hell no.
Better
That's
batter
my
me.
wall.
You got to take me out here.
And they're going to say, well, why is it your? Well, I've been the first one. Well, who says that? It's a street wall. There's a beef. There's a beef.
Yeah.
And that's happened to me. People telling me that, oh, I'm going to go over you. There's been times where people have completely went over my entire mural with a whole nother production. And then they say, oh, sorry about that, Zender, but we needed the wall. And then we had situations where I go restore a wall that's being buffed out and say, wait, don't buff it out. Let me fix the graffiti off of it. Then the people who had the wall will say, you went over my piece. So there's no way around beef. The best way I know how to resolve a beef is say, I'm sorry, but you can go ahead and have anything you want. Take my wall, take it.
Another one will come.
Another one will come. You don't want me to save your murals? Fine, I'll let them get buffed out next time. Sorry about that. I didn't know that you wanted your walls buffed out.
At the end of the day, we gotta do what makes ourselves.
That's
happy.
why at the end of the day, you have to take into account your own self. And I'm the kind of person where I don't like to have beef with anybody. And if for some reason somebody says, "Oh, Xander se cree mucho," he thinks it's all that in a bag of chips, and someone says that to me, I'll go, "Hey man, what's up, brother? I heard you got some disagreement. Talk to me, man.
You need a hug.
You need a hug." Because I don't believe there should be any beefs, but unfortunately, because of the nature of the circumstances, those things happen, and they come usually in the tag bang or tag, mentality where it's like a gang. You crossed me out, I'm gonna cross you out. You went over me, or that was my wall, and I don't like you, or I mean, whatever.
I don't like the way you wear your hat.
I don't like the way you wear. I mean, those things are unavoidable, and I think sometimes it's a lot of jealousy. A lot of it is jealousy, from my opinion.
I could agree to that.
This guy, I don't like the way he takes all these walls. I've had people tell me, Xander, how do you get walls so fast? I ask.
That's all you have to do.
I just ask. No magic to it. Oh, really? Yeah. Or they'll say to me, oh my God, why do you paint so fast and you're making us look bad? Why do you charge like that? That's making me look bad.
Slow down.
I've had people tell me that my rates are just too affordable. And I'm like, well, start charging less. I don't know what to tell people. Yeah. I'm just saying, I run my life as best as I can. I paint fast, and I believe in quality in my work. And I believe that everybody should have quality in their work. And I believe everybody should run the business as best as they can with the integrity that they can. Now, if another company outbids them, that's just the way things go.
It happens.
You'll get another gig. Don't go trying to burn that guy's business.
Don't get discouraged, man. Just keep going.
So there's really no way to really, if do your best to solve it on your end.
Gotcha.
And on the other people's end, they might hate you for the rest of their life, but you did your effort and say, hey man, I got nothing against you.
Man, I want to thank you for stopping by and giving me a little bit of your time and talking with us about graffiti. Is there any shout outs you want to give out, brother?
Yeah, I want to give shout outs to every single street graffiti writer, graffiti tagger, graffiti bomber, graffiti, whatever you want to call yourself. I give you props for doing what you love to do.
And I want to also give you a thank you for giving me this hand piece by yourself and this one by your son.
My son.
Oh, let me get it real quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
Check them out right here. Then we got this guy right here. It's all love. Make sure to like and subscribe. I appreciate all my Patreons. Till next time.